check. Oh, here comes the breakdown. Douche. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the AfroMattt Show. This is episode 248. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is news, entertainment, educational, comedy, conspiracy, spiritual, a book recommendation podcast, and we have any returning people. Thank you for your continued support. It really does. I say this every time because I mean it every time. It does mean the most to me, and I appreciate your patronage. Today we are sipping on some Bush Apple. I don't know if I can show this on YouTube, so I'm just going to say that this is a Coca-Cola can from a distance. But we're catching a little bit of a buzz. My car is still not fixed, so I'm still stuck at home. It's been a nightmare, if you're wondering. And, yeah, so I mean, I'll just recap you real quick on what's going on with the car situation. If you don't know, last week someone hit me in the back. I got rear-ended, which coincidentally enough did happen on Gay Pride Month. So I got rear-ended on Gay Pride Month, not sexually, just carly. And the guy who came out had no shirt, tattoos up to his neck. Chill guy, but classic, like, you know, Southern kind of, got that Southern charm about him. But he came out, he's like, yeah, I hit you or whatever. I took a video. I sent it to the lady, and then an adjuster called me, and she's like, send me the video. And she's like, she called me back like the next day, and she's like, oh, what police department did you file this claim? We can't get a hold of the guy. I'm like, oh my God. I felt like all the blood just drain out of my face into my feet. I'm like, shit, this guy's doing like a hit and run kind of dodge situation, which, he's entitled to. It's, his life. But thankfully, so I sent her the video, and she's like, okay, now what police department did you send this with? I'm like, I didn't call the police department. She's like, ooh, this might be hard. I'm like, why do I need a police department? I'm like, you have the video of the guy talking. She's like, okay, let me bring this to my supervisor and see what I can do. And then 2 days go by, and all this time I'm like, I want to be able to drive like more than like a 3-mile radius, please. So she called me back. She's like, okay, I was able to actually get a hold of the guy. He claimed responsibility. I'm like, why are you just going to call him and ask him what would happen if he said no? And I have the video of him saying yes. Like, what do we do then? But thankfully it didn't come to that. So the guy said yes, he hit me. And then we're now we're trucking. So now I'm at the point where I'm waiting for a phone call from another adjuster. This whole thing, this whole process of claims and adjusting, this is a process that I don't know why it's so complicated. I don't understand why this needs to be so complicated. I send a video of the guy hitting me. It's claiming like he said that he hit me. And she's like, well, I just want to make sure that this isn't some sort of fraud situation. I'm like, why would I hit myself with a 40,000 pound car wrapped in steel metal? Why would I ram that into the back of my car and force myself to be home ridden for the next several weeks? Like, is that some sort of scheme people are running? It's like, I obviously don't know this guy. But, so yeah, we're in limbo. We're literally waiting for an adjuster to call, a new adjuster lady, which I don't know why there's so many people involved in this. A lady's supposed to be calling me and then supposed to be asking me questions and then telling me to go get somewhere to repair it. And at this point, I'm just so kind of checked out. So that's an update on that. I mean, guys, if you ever get into an accident, I mean, God bless, dude, because this whole thing sucks so bad. This sucks so bad. It's just such a fucking headache every time. And every time I talk to this lady, every time she picks up the damn phone, it sounds like she's pissed off at me. I'm like, hey, it's Matt again. You know me. And she's like, oh, what's your, do you have a claim number? I can't find it. I'm like, we literally talked yesterday. I know you're not that busy, bitch. Like, you're not doing anything. You're probably, at Sephora. You probably just got off your 4th break for the day, taking a lunch break with the girls. You just got your nails done. I doubt you're doing all this shit. So I'm like, you're probably talking like 5 people. Like, I'm one of 5 probably. But I'm maybe I'm wrong. But I do get that vibe. But so she picks up and she's like, oh, who are you again? I'm like, I'm the guy that sent the video. And she's like, yeah, what's your claims number? I'm like, how many people are sending you videos of shirtless guys with tattoos? But yeah, the whole thing has been Kafka-esque. Like, sent here, now I have to wait here. And I talked to my guy, and he's like, hey, man, it's kind of out of my hands. I'm like, okay. So now I'm at the hand of, like, these women passing me back and forth. It's just been a nightmare. So let's get into the actual what's going on. Happy Gay Pride. Let's go over the book that we finished for the week. I have been trucking through books, so this is the book. I don't even really know if I can show this bottom part of this. I didn't really know this until I started reading it, but the cover is a little bit raunchy, but this is called 13 Stories and 13 Epitaphs by William T. Vollman. William T. Vollman is a pretty underground writer. He's well known among writers because he is a very gifted, talented, and insanely he puts out high quality literature like Stephen King almost. Like, he releases his novels, or he released one called what's it called? Rising Up and Rising Down or something. And it's a collection of 4 volumes of like 1,000-page books about like the morals and ethics of wars, exploring each war and revolution in history. And that was like a 4-year project. And he just released a 2-part, like 1,000-page book recently too. So he's putting out like high quality, dense literature at an alarming pace. So and he's a really gifted author. He went to one of, if not the most prestigious school in the world. I don't even know the name of it, but it's like more prestigious than Harvard pretty much. They have an acceptance rate of like the lowest acceptance rate of any Ivy League. It's like above Ivy League. He's like a genius kid. He grew up in like doing tech stuff like computer, and he looks like a nerd. If you look him up, he looks like a genuine nerd. He kind of looks like the old photos of him. He does have a Dahmer kind of vibe, but he's a certified genius, very high IQ. He would code when computers were like just black screens. Like, he was coding back then, and in the downtime, like after hours coding, that's when he would write. And he would write straight into like a command prompt or whatever, and I guess figure out how to print it from there. I don't know how he did it, but he puts out some really good work. This one is called 13 Stories and 13 Epitaphs. It's a collection of, 13 stories, obviously, and 13 epitaphs, which are like 1-page little almost blurbs. They're poetic, usually maybe a little bit of dialogue, just a little bit of a back and forth, painting a little picture that usually correlates to the story that was right before it. So they're all pretty dark. It's a heavy book, and some of the themes, so the first story was probably one of the best. It's called The Ghost of Magnetism, And this one's about homesickness and belonging and finding your place and exploration. And it's probably one of his best pieces in the book. And it's really interesting how he explores each of his friends. And I bet it's probably autobiographic. So, and he's describing his friends, and he's remembering, flashing back to times that they had. And it starts with him in San Francisco, speaking of Gay Pride Month, San Francisco, and he explores east, west, north, and south, like the cardinal directions from that location, all the way until he dies in each direction, and sort of has an ego death in each direction. He finds out that he's exactly where he's supposed to be in San Francisco. So it's and the whole time he's like remembering trips that he's had, adventures as he's going further and further north, and then he gets to like the North Pole, and he's talking about the rotation of the stars in the heavens above, and then he goes south, and then he goes north, or it goes west, out towards like Hawaii, ends up in the thing, and it's a really interesting storytelling motif. Each chapter, each section of that book or that little story is like south, west, north. So I mean, pretty interesting. Not a bad one. One of my favorites was actually not that one. It was well, this one's about prostitutes. Yeah, a lot of these are pretty. This guy seems like a pretty sexual guy. This guy seems pretty sexual, which is pretty funny when you see a picture of him. This one's called the Handcuff Manual. So this guy's talking about some freaky stuff. This one's literally about, but so now the Handcuff Manual is probably one of the best stories, but it's his exploration of, I think, trauma, passed down trauma. He's like a army veteran. His father was in World War II. His father killed like 5 Japanese people with 1 grenade, and he stole their dog tags, and he tries to pass them down to his sons, and the sons die each time that they deny the dog tags. He finally accepts the dog tags. He goes to war. He's the only son to make it out, but he still doesn't feel like he's won his father's love, and he still lives with the trauma from war, and he tries to assimilate to Guntown, which is essentially, I believe, New York City. And to deal with this, he gets more and more interested in handcuffs, which are handcuffs kind of relate to the dog tags as sort of a binding to his own trauma and stuff. I'm obviously just trying to make this up in my head and make it make sense, because it's a freaky, and then he finds this girl, and then he uses the handcuffs on the girl, and she doesn't like it. So it's a really freaky boy. This guy's freaked out. Epitaph for a Jaguar, that one wasn't bad. The Handcuff Manual, very freaky. An interesting thing in the Handcuff Manual is there's different levels of handcuffs. It's like the physical handcuffs, the imaginary handcuffs, and then eventually, if you get really skilled at using those handcuffs, then you can upgrade to the invisible handcuffs. And he goes to buy, and he finally gets his fortune told by this lady, and the lady's like, "Oh, you're here for the invisible handcuffs. Well, we got those right here." And her husband comes out with nothing, opens it, and puts them around his wrist, and he's like, he feels euphoric because he finally has handcuffs that aren't there. So obviously it's heavy with symbology and guilt. There's obviously something that the main character is dealing with. It's the traumas of war, his father, his 2 brothers dying. There's probably a certain level of self-hatred, and the handcuffs are his own handcuffs because they're imaginary and invisible, but he also wants to inflict them on other people and finally inflict them on himself. So an interesting, it's just a shame that it had to be so freaky on that one. Another one that was really good, Let's see. Yeah, some of these are pretty not good. There's one about like a cuckold guy. Dialectics, interesting one. The last one I think was really cool. What was this one called? Tropicana? No. Wait, what's the last one? 13. I think. Oh yeah. The Grave of Stories. Wow, this one. Yeah, he really. Yeah, I think the last one may have been the best. It's told from the perspective of Edgar Allan Poe, and it's a description of like lost stories. Where do they go? Where does the stories, do they die with the author, or the stories out there for other people to claim? Collective unconscious type stuff. Really, a really cool book. Overall, some of the stories were a lot slower than I wanted. A lot of the themes were kind of hard to get through, just sexually, just because they were so strange. But overall, the writing is really great. Let me see if I have a passage here that I underscored. Here, give me one sec. Okay, here's one. This is from the handcuff manual chapter, so the freaky one. But this is when he finally gets the imaginary handcuffs. I said no one could see them or weigh them, but they tightened as inflexibly as reality. Consider cattle guards' lines painted on the road, which fool the cows. Then prison bar lines printed on spectacles, which fool the convicts. Then imagine spectacles, which fool the blind. So he's talking about, like, of course, the imaginary bracelets. They're not real, but it's about conformity and slave to yourself, others, trauma, stuff like that. Here's another one. This is from Dialectics. We may be sure that any excess balance of retribution was applied wherever it might be needed. Because the old man's death paid for the murders of chickens, and because the murder of the chickens paid for the assault upon the priest, we might wonder why one of these required punishment, since each was a punishment of something else, and therefore might be thought to have a justification. But that was not the way the great banker thinks. Money makes money as sin makes sin, and who would want that to stop? This one's about sort of the he has a funny line here. It's about, like, he walks into a like a shop, and he talks to this cowboy, and I'm not gonna like go through the entire all these stories, but that one's a little bit more comedic. It does have a little bit of a Jewish joke in there too. So let's see. Let's continue on. I have to give this book a rating. I think I give it an 8.5 out of 10. The writing is, you have to get used to it. I mean, he has pages that are one sentence for the entire, like, 2-page spread, like, just connected with semicolons and stuff, and they just go on forever, like, kind of stream of consciousness writing, which I don't necessarily hate. I don't love. It's hard, but hey, it's not a bad book. Well written. We'll do another book next week, because I finished 2 this week. Next week we'll do this one by Ray Bradbury, so stay tuned. All right. We also have to cover, I told you that this was important. We have been waiting for this. This is the movie called Disclosure Day by what's his name? Steven Spielberg. I mean, I was pretty excited about watching the movie. I did watch it on opening day, which I believe was the 11th or the 12th, maybe 5 days ago. Now, the movie was surprisingly bad itself. Like, the movie itself was kind of lackluster and kind of just, I mean, there's several laugh out loud moments in a movie where I don't think Steven really wanted anyone to be laughing. There's one scene where they're in a car chase, and the lady, like the bitch that he's with, just tried to stab him, and he turns around and like gives her a loving look and says her name. He turns around while driving. So he's in a cop chase. He's being chased by cops on a dirt road. He just was almost stabbed by his bitch. And he turns around and lovingly looks at her while driving, not looking at the road, just like fully turned around and says, Jane. Like, aw. I literally burst out laughing in the movie theater. I'm like, what the fuck? She just tried to stab you, bro. You gotta keep your eyes on the road, bro. Yeah, so, yeah, it was, there was a couple, oh, God. Okay, so the movie, I'll break down the movie because there are important, because I told you that this is an important movie. It's Steven Spielberg. Every now and then they give directors, like, these big directors, pretty good hints. And by they, I mean whoever is in, control media and stuff like that. So there are good hints and little tidbits that we can take away. So we'll cover those in a bit. But I do want to, so at the very end, spoilers, by the way, for whoever hasn't seen it, go watch it or watch one of those like videos where they're like show you clips or whatever. You can probably watch the whole thing on TikTok, to be honest. But there is a scene at the end where they're like find an alien. The alien's like struggling. He like just got out of a car crash. The alien looks drunk. He's like, and there's like human doctors talking to him. So and it's just like a kind of a funny scene. But the movie was not good. But I don't think the movie was bad, if that makes sense. So I'll break down the movie for you. The movie follows these two people who are, one is like a coder for like Palantir, pretty much, and the other is a news anchor in Kansas City, Missouri, which was an interesting place to put it. And one day, this girl who is a news anchor, the weather girl, at Kansas City, Missouri. Also, the very next day after this movie came out, there was a major tornado alert in Kansas City, Missouri. I know because it was like all over the place. So, so I mean, just kind of a weird coincidence. The day after a movie set in Kansas City, Missouri, written by, kind of a major movie disclosure day, probably has some hints, and then there's a tornado the next day, weather girl, that type of, I mean, not the skits out or anything, but just a kind of cool coincidence. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so the weather girl sees a cardinal, and then she gets her superpowers activated where she can speak any language, and that launches her on a adventure of finding aliens. And really, I don't really know what was trying to be said, what the message was. There wasn't any like real theme. The main villain in the movie is like the CEO of Palantir, but he has his power is that he's like, I guess, the only human that can grab hold of this device, and if he sees a picture of someone's face, which they grab from security cameras and stuff like that, he can he can astrally project to their location, and he calls it like dropping in on them, and then he can take over their body for a short amount of time, and like, I guess, damage done to them in there hurts him, and the whole process is like super intense for him. So he's like hooked up to these wires as he's astrally projecting, which astral projection is so there's like little hints of like good nuggets. So there's good nuggets all over the place in this movie. You have to just be looking for them. Astral projection, mind control. He like takes over this girl, and he tries to stab this guy who's taking this information, and he's going to disclose it. So he's like the main character is like a leaker, and he's got all the information about all the aliens, And that's what starts off the movie, is like he's left work with all this information about aliens, and he's like, I'm going to release this to the world. A very interesting part. And this was something that I was very uncomfortable with in the movie theater, is Jane, the bitch who almost stabbed him, but granted, she was mind controlled. Also, all of this is wireless. So they're like mind controlling wirelessly, which is an interesting motif. But this girl is like arguing with her boyfriend. The boyfriend's like, shows her a video of some aliens and like them doing experiments on real aliens and stuff. And she's like, and she starts crying because she's like a hardcore Catholic, and she actually used to be a nun, or a nun in training. And she's like, you can't, she's like, what are you going to do with this information? He's like, I'm going to release this to the world because it belongs to everyone. It belongs to the whole country. Everyone deserves this information. And she's like, you can't release this to the world. What will it do to Christians? What will it do to Christians? I'm like, that's really weird coming from a Jewish director. Who wrote that movie, by the way? Let me look it up. Okay, the writers were David Koepp and Steven Spielberg, which are, I mean, sounds like two very Jewish individuals. What other movies has David Koepp produced? Oh, he's a Jewish person for sure. Mission Impossible, Black Bag, Stir of Echoes, Jurassic Park. So he's interested in Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So he's interested in these kind of like Jack Ryan. So he's like maybe CIA operative level clearance type stuff. So he's dropping hints. He's the hint dropper. Jack Ryan is like a full on, that's like a CIA movie. Interestingly enough, the main character in this is the weather lady is played by the husband of John Krasinski, who is essentially a CIA operative. I played a TikTok a while back of John Krasinski being like, oh yeah, I owe everything to the CIA. I love the CIA. And he's at all the CIA offices doing interviews for his part in Jack Ryan or whatever. So she might be, you know, included in this. I don't know. But, you know, it is what it is. So you have a Jewish director saying that if aliens come, it'll shatter people's faith in Christianity, faith in Jesus, faith in God. He does drop like one little hint when she calls her nun, and she's like, what if there are aliens? And she's like, in Genesis, God says, we are his best creation on earth, or whatever. I don't even know if the Bible even says that. But that's called like planting a seed. It's like enough people watch this who are Christian, and then they're like, well, maybe if aliens really do exist, now I have to question my faith. It's sort of like, that's just seed planting. And I know like a lot of people, if you have real faith, then aliens won't really disrupt you. I mean, if you've ever watched the movie Prometheus, which I recently watched, the main character of that is also Christian, but they tackle it a different way. They look at the aliens and they say, who made the aliens? So there has to be a God. Maybe they sent a Jesus to them too. So it really doesn't even quite, like if aliens dropped tomorrow, I don't think it may make people's faith even stronger. Like, I don't know, but I did do like a little bit of research. So like in 1973, before the presidential elections, Jimmy Carter, you know, that guy who was like, honestly kind of looked like an alien. He filed a report in the International UFO Bureau claiming he had seen a UFO in 1969. Along with other witnesses, Carter saw a bright UFO that changed colors and moved towards and away from the Earth before disappearing. He described waiting outside for a Lions Club meeting in Leary, Georgia, which is weird. I don't know what a Lions Club is. Might be like Freemason adjacent. He said it's the darndest thing I ever seen. 10 or 12. Jimmy Carter cried after being briefed about classified information regarding UFOs, largely believed to be true by serious researchers on the subject. As a forewarning, the following information is very unsettling and will explain why Carter never kept his promise of revealing UFO. So they say that Jimmy Carter cried because it shook his belief in Jesus or something like that. So this has sort of been a play for a while. I mean, Project Bluebeam. There's that one speech by, who's that guy? The president that was like gay. I mean, they're all gay. They're all might be married to men. But the first one who was like a movie star, what's that guy's name? Let me look this up. Okay, here it is. It's this guy, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan. I believe that Ronald Reagan has been attributed for most of the bad things that has happened to this world. He's kind of the boomer guy. Reaganomics and stuff like that. I don't really know what his policies were, but I know a lot of people blame him for a lot of the shit that's going on. I don't know if he's the one who was responsible for making houses like $4. I talked to someone literally today on the phone, and they told me, they're like, you know how much he's like, my neighbor, he lives in Washington, not Washington, D.C., but like Washington, the state. He's like, my neighbor's just sold, well, I guess he's not country, but he's like, my neighbor's just sold their house. My neighbors just sold their house. Try to guess how much they sold it for. And I'm like, I don't know, $800,000. He's like, $1.25 million. I'm like, wow. Well, congratulations to them. And he's like, you want to know how much they bought it for? I'm like, no, I really don't. And I'm like, can I guess? And he's like, no. He's like, they bought it for $102,000 in 2004. And I'm like, I really want every boomer to realize how much they fucked our entire chances up so bad. So bad. And I guarantee you, oh my gosh, I wish I would have asked. I'm like, did they sell to BlackRock? I bet they sold to BlackRock. Like, who can come up with $1.2 million cash buying a house? I don't know. But here's Ronald Reagan talking about aliens. I'm sure a lot of people have seen this, but for those who haven't, this is important viewing.
Peace. In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. And yet, I ask you, is not an alien force already among us? What could be...
There's lots of aliens forces out there. Ask Ireland. We'll get to that. So here's, so a lot of people, that's like the entry course to Project Bluebeam, which is essentially that at some point the government's going to be like, if stuff gets this bad, or if the files are this close to being released, that being the Jeffrey Epstein files, the bomb that is Jeffrey Epstein files, if they get close to being released, or if shit hits the fan, like, instead of UFC fights on the lawn, people bring out guillotines and stuff. If things get to that level of severity, the last button might be like this Project Bluebeam, which is like holograms, fake UFOs, UFO technology that we have from harvesting it, but we'll just fly them around and it'll be like real UFOs. We'll maybe blow something up, or maybe the UFO will shoot something and obliterate it. It'll be like, War of the Worlds situation, and then people will not necessarily calm down, but they'll stop wanting to overthrow the government at that point, and they'll be like, oh, we're at it now, we have an alien threat, we'll let you live for another day, government. You can kind of take care of the alien situation, and then the government can kind of breathe a little bit and go about business as usual. So that's sort of the rundown of Project Bluebeam. But yeah, there's Ronald Reagan, classic. Yeah, more about this movie. Some of the other motifs. We talked about the mind control. We talked about alien technology. He actually uses alien technology to astral project and mind control, so that's where he's getting that. One of the people actually stole an alien from this base, which they don't explain how he actually stole an alien, but he has him in like a freezer tube, and at the end of the movie they like release him, and he whispers something into the ear of one of the characters, and he translates it. They talk like it's pretty eerie. But I thought the movie, when I went into the movie, I thought the movie was going to be that there are some aliens living here on the planet initially, already here, and Disclosure Day is the day that they all come out and expose themselves for being aliens among us. So I thought it was going to be one of those, one of those situations, but I don't think it was. One of the characters, I already talked about that. So like the anti-Christian aspect. My main takeaway from this movie is, if you look at it from the lens of, it's not an alien movie, but it's actually a hidden metaphor for MK Ultra and child abuse, child abduction and child abuse. MK Ultra, Project Monarch. I haven't seen anyone talk about this, but from watching it, my perspective, that's the main thing I took away from this movie. Is at the very beginning, this woman gets activated, literally like a sleeper agent, like an MK Ultra Manchurian candidate. She sees like a cardinal, and the cardinal activates her. And the first thing she does is start speaking fluent Russian and then Korean to a Korean diplomat. And then she speaks alien language on national television. So I'm instantly curious from that. But then she says, so she meets up with the guy who's also an MK Ultra victim, who's been programmed to be very good at mathematics by the aliens. So it's revealed about halfway through the movie that both these kids, well, I guess maybe towards the end of the movie, both these main characters, the one who's really good at math and then the one who's really good at languages, and she has like magic powers where she can like read people's mind and stuff. They were both abducted when they were both 10 years old by aliens, and the aliens implanted knowledge into both their heads. I don't know if that's like Adam and Eve information, Gnosticism stuff, but the to me, and so that happened at 10 years old for both of them, and they don't really remember anything before they were 10, and the girl's bedroom is full. The entire room is full of butterflies, and butterflies are a big Project Monarch is literally butterflies, but they mention butterflies twice, and then the main climax of the movie happens in her room full of butterflies. So the aliens take her. The aliens are, they show themselves to people as creatures like deer or a rabbit or like a raccoon, but I was just literally thinking of like, these could just be elites that just have on like masks. It's actually really dark if you think about it, like an MK Ultra thing, and it's like ritual abuse, and then these people are programmed to be triggered later. I don't know if that's like the story that Steven Spielberg is trying to release, but it seemed a little bit weird. It seemed very Manchurian Candidate in a alien shell. But hey guys, go watch it for yourself, check it out, keep the things I said in your mind, and see if you think that's what happened. I don't know. All right, let's go on to the news. This is gonna be hard to talk about, so I'm gonna go crack another beer. I'm gonna get another Busch Apple because the following conversation it's a prerequisite to have 2 Busch Apples to even start talking about this. You have to be very loose, and we have to be on guard. We have to be hyper vigilant, and we have to, whatever. Let's just go on to the next part. Give me a second. All right, let's crack open another one. All right, let's talk about it. All right. I don't know if this is in the title or not, but we're finally to it. We're talking about the Carmelo Anthony verdict, and we're talking about Ireland. Now, these are very touchy subjects, and I almost considered not talking about them, but they're actually so big that I as a news investigator, I cannot not talk about them. So let's talk about Carmelo Anthony first. So this verdict happened literally, I think, like 2 days after the last episode released. That episode, we talked about Henry Novak, who was the kid, the 18-year-old kid who was stabbed by a Sikh gentleman. I believe he punctured a lung, and the kid was handcuffed. He said, "I've been stabbed. I cannot breathe." And the guy handcuffing him, the British guy, said, "Oh, I don't think so. I don't think you have, mate. I don't think you have, mate." So riding off the back of this, and now this is what's ramping up, and this is why I have to be. There's that burp. That was bubbling for a while. Okay. So the reason why I have to be hyper vigilant is because this is obvious race heightening. So they're trying to heighten race tensions. So race tensions since George Floyd have been kind of on the back burner. They're bringing that pan to the front, and they're cranking the heat up a little bit. So they're getting things boiling on the race card situation. And it's not just America, it's global. So that makes me concerned because it's obvious propaganda. Anytime I start feeling like some sort of way, like this is an injustice or they've got to throw this Sikh guy in jail, and it's in England, which I don't care what happens in England. I know that there's a propaganda campaign that is targeting me specifically as a white man. It's targeting me, and it's working. So that's why, as I'm talking about this stuff, I'm also propagating it. But I do want to talk about it because it's pretty important. And with propaganda, as well as like stereotypes, there is some truth in propaganda. So even though it's propaganda, and the Carmelo Anthony case may have just been swept under the rug if it wasn't popularized by the algorithm or whatever invisible, quote-unquote, invisible hand that controls the media, it could have just gone, no one would have noticed it, but for some reason, it's popular, it's famous, we don't hear it. There's probably a million other Carmelo Anthonys that happen, and maybe 500,000 that are the other way. But the Carmelo Anthony one is a little bit disturbing because they were like 17-year-olds at a track meet, and he got knifed. So the Austin Metcalf, I believe we talked about this a while back. So Austin Metcalf, a white boy, 17, in his tent for a track meet, Carmelo Anthony shows up at the tent. He's in the opposite team of the track event. Austin Metcalf, white boy, says, "Hey, this is the wrong tent. You can't be here. This is our squad." I don't know. Things get heated. He said, "You got to make me leave," or whatever. Got up to push him, and then Carmelo Anthony stabbed him with the knife, and it punctured his heart and killed him. I mean, almost immediately. But Carmelo Anthony has been found guilty and has received 35 years in prison, which some people initially were saying this is too much. A lot of the information on like TikTok, I mean, you really couldn't even ignore it. It was on Instagram and stuff. It was like black people like, you've got to have a talk with your children. You can't go to track clubs anymore, whatever. Like, you don't even have the right to defend yourself anymore. And then you have the other people that are like, God damn right, we put another one away. You know, like you have that. You have two very separate sides that need to be ignored. So the but 35 years is a pretty, I mean, I'm going to be honest. Well, I'm going to be honest. He's kind of lucky that he didn't get life, but he's going to be a very different person in 35 years. That's for sure. And his parents don't really seem to care. When they were going to the car after the thing, there was like a bunch of black people there protesting, obviously. And they're like, we love you, Carmelo Anthony family. We love you, the Anthony family. And then they're like throwing up heart emojis and like doing heart signs with their hands as they're getting in the car immediately after leaving the courtroom where their son they left their son there to serve 35 years, and they're like walking to the car and like throwing up love signs and like blowing kisses to the crowd. It's a little bit Erica Kirk coded, but and then there's like a bunch of people then that same crowd. I mean, these guys have to be paid actors because there's no way people actually believe that he's innocent. This is the whole O.J. Simpson thing. Is like with O.J. Simpson, it was like a huge celebration. I wasn't even born yet, by the way. I wasn't even born yet. Oh, wait, I was born for 9/11. I was 2. I was 2 years old for 9/11. But for O.J., I wasn't even born yet. But this is like, so the O.J. trial, people were like, that was actually a race war. And they've been working on this for a long time. It's like any sort of like major black versus white things ramp up. You get the, you even notice it with the fights. Like anytime there's like a Jake Paul versus Floyd Mayweather, it's like, I hope he beat his white boy ass. And then it's like people like, takes their side taking. And it's like all pretty much controlled because they know that it sells and it's what gets clicks and stuff like that. So, but with the O.J. Simpson thing, that one was really strange because it's like, if the glove don't fit, he must have quit. And it's like, dude, like the weirdest thing with the O.J. trial, and I didn't even follow this because I wasn't alive, but the O.J. thing is they had him put a glove on with a glove on. I don't know if anyone tried to put on a glove on, period, like a leather glove. Have you ever tried to like put on a golfing glove, period? It takes like 4 minutes to put on your golfing glove. But imagine like with a rubberized glove putting on a glove. Like I can't even imagine trying to even do that. Like it would take like, we're gonna have to like break for recess while I put this glove on. But they're like, and then he's making his hand like fully like this to not get the glove on all the way. And it's like, damn, this glove doesn't fit. I cannot get this glove on. And then I guess the prosecution's like, well, shit, that's all we had. I guess the glove thing is all we had. We only had the glove thing. So, for some reason, OJ walked free. Carmelo Anthony, back to Carmelo Anthony, he did not walk free. So, justice has happened. I mean, he killed someone. And this shouldn't be a while. I'm going to need some more Bush for this. This shouldn't be a wild take. This shouldn't be a risky thing I'm about to say. But it shouldn't be risky to say that when someone kills someone, that's what happened here. We can wash away all the skin color, whatever you want. His name can be Joe Smith. And he can have neck tattoos and a big white swastika or whatever. If he killed someone, I would also be happy that justice prevailed the exact same. Like, when someone goes to jail for killing someone, that's not some sort of, like, racist attack. That's a mean, that's sort of kind of like what happens when you kill someone. Like if you kill someone, even if it's accidental, it's like that's still manslaughter. And it's like maybe don't bring a knife to a track meet and use it. Like you have to be severely unhinged to use a knife at a track meet. To even draw a knife on someone, like I don't know if anyone's even like I've been around some like pretty, I mean, not serious like violent situations, but like people that could get violent, like, you know, drunk people, or maybe you're at a party and you see some people like shoving each other, maybe they're fighting over a girl. I've seen that like a few times, and I've never once thought of like having a knife on me. I'm like, worst case scenario, I'll just run really, really fast, and I'll maybe jump a fence or whatever, and I can like kind of outrun some of these people. Like, if worst thing, I would never even think to bring a knife to a track meet. And also these guys, I mean, they're good at track, so maybe that's why he thought he couldn't maybe when everyone's super fast, maybe this is what the defense should have said. This is at a track meet, so we're talking, these are all athletes, so you can't outrun. So if you can't outrun someone, you need a knife. Maybe that's the best defense there. But nonetheless, I wanted to pull this because it did remind me. This is the reaction from O.J. Simpson, and this reminds me a lot of what's going on.
Stand and face the jury.
So this trial, O.J. Simpson stopped like the traffic in New York City. Everyone's they're playing this on like Times Square. The live verdict of O.J. Simpson.
Mrs. Robinson.
Superior Court of California, County of Los Angeles.
And you have all the black people, and I don't mean this to be racist, and I am on two bush apples, but it is the black people that are like crossing their fingers saying, please, I hope this guy gets away with it, is essentially what they're saying. Please don't put this black man in jail that he killed someone. And I think that it came out like recently, like a deathbed confession of like one of the jurors. They're like, oh yeah, I knew OJ was guilty, but I wasn't going to vote for a brother or something like that. Like, and the same thing kind of happened with Carmelo Anthony's case. They're like, well, he didn't get a jury of his peers because they were all white jurors. And apparently it's like, well, a lot of the black jurors said that they would be a little bit biased in the verdict section. So, you know, and that's all, hey, he said, she said.
The matter of the people of the state of California versus
this church is entirely black, and they're all holding hands and hoping.
Miss Orenthal James Simpson, case number
Miss Orenthal James.
BA097211.
Please, Jesus, please, Jesus. And then you have this business. Then you have this is the craziest stark difference. You have this business office, and they're all white, and they look so stressed. And then you have, oh my gosh. And then you have the not guilty verdict.
James Simpson, not guilty of
there it is, the pop-up. Woo! Damn. That's crazy. This is the face of, these are people who, this may have been, and this was happening before 9/11, this may have been the turn of the century when things started going downhill. They realized, even this guy in the corner, he's black, and he's still shocked by the verdict. He's like, God damn, he got away with that shit. Holy shit. So he said, hell no. No! No! And now there's parties in the streets. And now they're praying for OJ. Look at OJ. Look at that smile. Look at that smile, OJ. Look at that smile. Let's pause that. Look at that. Look at that smile. Immediately after this, look at that. Look at that face. He's cracking a smile, that half smile. He's like, God damn, we're good. Get yourself a smooth-talking lawyer. In Leviticus, they said that we must acquit. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters of the jury, I must admit today, on this surreptitious, loquacious, expialidocious day, that today we are freeing a man, and not only a black man, but not only a the bushes are going to me, guys. The bushes are hitting. not only a man, but a black man. Circumscribe and circumnavigate his mind, and you will see that he is not guilty. And not only is he not guilty, but he is a free man. As we are all free brothers and sisters under Christ. Under Christ. Yahweh, we see the way. You know, you just got to get like a nice, smooth talking, rhyming. Also, isn't this guy on the right? That's that guy on the far right on this photo. I believe that is Kim Kardashian's grandpa. So this is like some weird shit. Anyways, look at that smile. Immediately after this, by the way, O.J. Simpson would write a book called If I Did It. So that's what that smile means. He's like, I'm writing a book called What Would I Do If I Did It? O.J. Simpson, did he behead a person? Is that what he did? What was O.J. What was he doing? Also, a lot of the videos of him like in the later years is him like golfing. Like he had like a Twitter or like an Instagram where he was just posting like golf videos. But anyways, Carmelo Anthony is probably going to come out in 35 years. Actually, he might be working on his book called If I Didn't Do It. But let's move along. The OJ thing always blows my mind because I don't understand how anyone in their right mind could believe that OJ Simpson was innocent. Like what? Like maybe you had to be there. Maybe it's one of those things like, dude, you had to be there. It was so convincing. Like when he put that glove on, everyone was shocked and they're like, "Damn, I guess it was someone else. I guess we'll never know. I guess we'll never know who it was." Because obviously it was not O.J. Simpson. And then like 3 years later, he's like running from the cops, getting head in a Range Rover or something. What was he in? He was like a white Tundra or something like that. Toyota Tundra. He was like driving around with a shotgun. I don't even know what that story, the conclusion of that story is insane. They got to make a movie on that, but the movie might not get the same turnout as the Michael Jackson film. All right, let's talk about, all right, we have to be really we have to step gingerly. We have to go gracefully into that dark night. We have to talk about two very racially charged events. So the Carmelo Anthony thing, once again, this shouldn't be like a wild stance, but when you kill someone, you should have there should be consequences for killing people. Now, call me a white extremist for saying that, but that's just my opinion. My opinion, guys, and this is as far as the take as I'll go. I believe that if you murder someone at a track meet, then you should face some time. That's just my opinion. Like if you kill someone, if you stab someone in the heart, also stabbing is one of the most violent ways to kill someone. Like a gun is disconnected, you're far away from the target, you can shoot and leave and not even watch them bleed out. When you stab someone, you enter and you actually feel, I can imagine, I've never actually stabbed someone, but I've stabbed stabbed wood and I've chopped things and I've like, you know, you poke like, you know, a wall or something, you know, like you stab wood or, you know, whenever you have a knife as a kid, you're like stabbing, you're like, you know, stabbing shit. You get a machete, you start chopping at the fence. You feel, there's a tactile feedback to like a stab. And I can imagine, like even when I had my pocket knife and I flipped it open and then it closed on my finger right here on my thumb, I felt it hit my bone. Like I felt it nick and like stop and wedge in my bone. And I knew instantly in that moment that this was going to be a serious injury. Oh God, I sound like a fucking retard now. Injury. So and I immediately removed it, and I knew instantly the second I removed the knife from my knuckle that I was going to need some sort of medical attention. So I drove to my mom's house, and guys, I'm slurring my words at this point. It's not good. And she super glued it back together. That being said, when you stab someone, it's like that's like a violent act. That's like a more violent act almost than a shooting. So let's continue on. So let's go from that violent act to maybe one of the most violent acts I've ever heard of in my life. This happened recently, this week in Ireland, the great homeland of Ireland. I'm somewhat Irish. My mother's name begins with a Mick, so I'm like 50% Mick. And I know that that's like a slur. I just don't want to say I don't want to say my mother's maiden name for like security reasons, but it's a Mick. So I'm part Mick blank, right? So Ireland, I do feel slightly connected to Ireland. I read The Dubliners, and for some reason I do have green eyes, which I believe is an Irish trait, and in the summer my hair is slightly orange, auburn. And so, all these things, I sunburn like an Irish person. I have Irish blood inside of me, so I don't know if it's like a very small percentage. I'm sure people wouldn't really consider me Irish, but let's see. Let's just play this. Fiery protests erupt in Belfast.
Let him go die!
So this is the video, and this video is mostly blurred. Harrowing footage of the incident was widely shared online and appears to show a knife man slashing the victim's neck and face with a blade. So this was video of an attempted beheading. I'm going to say this again. This is footage in Ireland, Belfast, Ireland, of an attempted beheading. So if that should put into perspective how bad things are, where there's a man attempting to behead someone on the street with like a giant machete.
No, he's not. Yes! Yes! Get up!
Screaming at him. So the guy is screaming. A guy is screaming in like a foreign language and hacking at this man's head, attempting to separate it from his body, screaming in a language that is not Irish, not English. Some land far away, some mystical land with sand and magic carpets is what I imagine in my head. It's kind of what that sounded like. But thankfully, some heroes standing nearby smashed him with signs and like things that they had on hand to get him off of him. Unfortunately, the guy did die. Let's see. And they chased him away. And the lady said, "Get off him, you fucking rat!"
Kill him! Get on them! Let him go die!
Oh, they cut off the part. Oh my god. Okay. Dude, he's holding up like a bloody blade. Okay, that's violent. That's not good. So Ireland, after seeing that, they said, so that was sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. So now, and I don't like that saying, because that is like, a straw. You think of like a tiny little piece of straw added to a hay bale, and that's what finally collapsed the camel. No, this is sort of like when you have a situation where you have guests. Like imagine the movie Her. If you've ever seen the movie with Jennifer Lawrence, Her, it's a metaphor for the world, and they keep on polluting her house, and she's like Mother Nature or something. Javier Bardem, I think that guy is his name, is inviting all these people in. Things get chaotic. They start like toxic waste, and in the end, they have a child sacrifice ritual, which I believe is supposed to be Jesus Christ. I'm not too sure. It's very strange, very, very strange movie. Very strange. It's almost like you forget about it when you watch it, and then you come back to it like in your memory. But in the movie Her, she has a house, and all these people start coming in and showing up, and some of them are acting like guests. You know, when you invite someone into your home who are strangers, who are seeking, maybe they're seeking refugee, or maybe they're seeking asylum, or maybe they just want out of the rain. Maybe that's a good example. You have a house, and there's a person outside who wants out of the rain. Now, maybe the rain is phosphoric acid, or white phosphorus that has been raining on their town or whatever. But you let them into your house because you're a nice person. And your household has voted. Maybe your household voted and said, hey, yes, maybe we'll let a few of them in. So there's a crowd outside, and they want to come in, and you say, yes, you can. I have an extra room. You guys can bunk up. Now, if I'm a guest in someone's house, I feel awkward even when I ask for like a blanket to sleep in. Like, I'm like, I don't want to even annoy you. Like, if I'm putting you out to sleep at your house, I'm not even like, you can go to sleep, and I'm just going to like sleep in like a curled up fetal position under the couch. Like, I don't care. I'm going to tough it out. So that's me personally when I'm a guest in someone's house. And then I wake up, and then I don't even expect breakfast. Sometimes, you wake up, and then, your friend's mom makes bacon and eggs or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'll have one egg and maybe a couple slices of bacon. You're not going to pig out, right? This is just me. I'm not going to like chow down. Or I'm not going to be like, I'm not going to wake up and say, where's the fucking breakfast, bitch? Chop, chop, bitch. And I'm definitely not going to wake up and try to behead the person who's like letting me stay in their house. So that's kind of the situation is, if you're a guest somewhere, I guess what I'm trying to say is there should be a little bit of decorum, and there should be a little bit of civility, and there should be a little bit of respect given to the people letting you into their home. Another thing that needs to be said is the Irish, like, you can kick these people out. These people have a home to go to. Pakistan, Bangladesh, wherever. Like, they have a home they came from. They have a motherland. The Irish have nowhere else to go. They're at their home, right? So, I mean, if you've seen the movie Her, or what is it called? No, it's called Mother, I think, or something like. I think it's called Mother. Like, her house starts collapsing because they like they're having like a major Project X type party there. There wasn't enough. I'll say this: there wasn't enough Indians in the movie Mother. Okay, the bushes are going to the head here. All I'm saying is beheading someone in their homeland is not. It's uncouth. Let's look up the definition of uncouth real quick. Here it is. This is uncouth.
Uncouth.
Crude, unrefined, awkward, clumsy, ungraceful, foreign, or unfamiliar. Beheading someone in their own home is uncouth. That's the word of the day. I think that might be the word of the day. So this is not the straw that broke the camel's back. This is the giant bale of hay. A beheading is more than a straw. an attempted beheading. Although it doesn't even matter if it was a beheading or an attempted beheading. The separation of the head from the body does not diminish the fact that there was an attempt, right? So it doesn't make it any worse if he actually separates the head from the body than if he just gets halfway. It actually makes it almost worse if he only makes it halfway because it's more disgusting. So this is a major issue, and the Irish have responded in Irish form. We talked about England, how you don't want to rile up the English. You definitely don't want to rile up the Irish because they are freedom fighters. They fought the IRA, fought the British forever. They come from a long line of rambunctious, freedom-loving, not necessarily patriots, because America we're the patriots, but rowdy individuals who are very opinionated and will state their mind. So, and they'll throw Molotov cocktails is what they'll do. So right now we have riots erupting in Belfast in response to this attempted beheading. The riots are happening at night, and they're targeting migrant families. So they're breaking windows and like throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff and like blowing up their cars. So they're getting rowdy. So, and yes, obviously that is a reaction. I'm not going to say if it's an overreaction or an underreaction. Attempted beheading on your neighbor is a pretty like serious thing. And I know and the main argument is, oh, well, it's not, you can't take one action from one of the guests in your country to speak for all the guests. And it's like, yes, you can't, but it's like, let's just get a reset. Like, that's my main thing is like, scientifically, and I know that the left loves science so much. So I'm going to frame this scientifically. If a scientist has a hypothesis, and their hypothesis is we just want to take away some of the migrants to see, my hypothesis is there'll be less beheadings. Okay? Let's test that hypothesis. How do we test that hypothesis? Well, we can look at a country that maybe doesn't have that many immigrants in it and see how many beheadings per capita they have. Okay? 0. Let's maybe we put that data aside or whatever. How do we test it on our own group? Okay, well, we need to, first off, either section off an area with no migrants and test them as a control group where, and that would require some removal of the immigrants. And then we have like the section we can observe as a control group, and we can say, okay, let's test this for 6 months and see how many attempted beheadings we have. Okay. Let's keep an eye out. And then you have to struggle. You have to be, and the reason why no one would ever even try this is because you have to then, if after a certain amount of time, if there's no beheadings and everyone's just like drinking at pubs and like singing in the streets, and I'm sure there'll be a couple bar fights and brawls and stuff, but maybe no attempted, beheadings. Then you have to deal with the harsh reality of maybe you have to reevaluate the people that you are letting into your country. Now, all this is pretty heavy stuff, and I mean, it's definitely two bush apples. You have to have 2 bush apples when you're discussing this type of stuff. It's honestly, the second one doesn't taste as good as the first one, I don't think. That's it. That's honestly, guys, that's all I'm saying. That is all I'm trying to say is there is a scientific approach to this. Okay? All right. Let's finish this off with some TikTok time, and I have to go pee. I got to break the seal here. All right, let's get into TikTok time. So, let's see here. Okay, so the what is it? The World Cup's happening. And I have been enjoying some of these videos of these Europeans and Japanese people that are here. it is kind of funny watching them. So here's a guy. This is a British guy who's here.
Hi, I love.
Oh God, I don't know why this is coming out just the left ear, guys. I'm sorry. It's coming out only left for me.
This beer in this country, by the way, it's really.
Maybe I can fix this. But this British guy is talking to this news broadcaster.
By the way, it's really good.
You like the beer in this country?
It's
All right.
great. Hospitality has been amazing as well.
Really? Have you had any Texas barbecue yet?
I had Texas barbecue yesterday. I had a lovely bit of brisket.
Tell me about it. What was your experience? Is it what you expected?
I went fatties. Do you go fatty or
yeah,
fleet?
yeah.
I went fatty. I went to slow
brisket. So they're in Texas. The Brits are in Texas. The Scots are in. So the Brits in Japanese, I believe, are in Dallas. There's the Scots in Boston. I believe the Scots have almost drank Boston out of their liquor. All the beer is gone in Boston. Let's see. Here's another one. This guy's. I guess he rented a car in America. He rented a truck and he's enjoying life as an American for a bit.
Driving for 5 minutes now and I can't wipe it.
I've been driving for 5 minutes now. I can't wipe the smile off my face.
Smile off my face. I'm driving a Ram truck in America. Like, look how sick this is. Country music on the radio. Go on. I'm going to Hooters in a Ram truck.
He's going to Hooters in a Ram truck. Also, I don't know where there is even any Hooters left. Here's a British guy trying what is this? Oh, this is from, so he's trying biscuits and gravy. This is from Cracker Barrel for sure.
Yeah, big chunk of this.
I'm surprised they don't have this in England, because this is like a classic English, I feel like it would be. Yeah, that's Cracker Barrel. Look at all that shit on the wall.
Is it bomb? Oh,
He loves that shit.
this is so good. This is why everyone
This
gets
is
telling me to have it.
good.
Dang.
Biscuits and gravy do slap. I get biscuits and gravy at every breakfast place I go to. I even put the gravy on everything. Everything gets dipped in the gravy. That's Harley the Brit. He's got a big old mustache too. I feel like there's some Japanese people.
What is that?
I don't know. But all right, let's go on to another TikTok. Oh wait, this is World Cup related too. This is an anti-racist. This is like an anti-racist PSA that goes out before the World Cup matches. And I'm sure, is Israel playing in the World Cup? Is Israel in the World Cup? I don't really know. If Israel's in the World Cup, I think they have a chance to play against Iran. I think, well, actually, I didn't cover this in the news segment, but I believe that Trump did reach like a peace plan or something like that with Iran. I don't really know. I don't really care because it really doesn't even matter. Like, they lost the plot when they were opening the Hormuz. They were closing the hummus, opening the strait, closing the strait. You know, it's just like, really, who cares if it's opened or closed? Like, really, doesn't matter.
During the match.
Please report any
racist abuse in today's match will be reported. Whether it's a player, coach, official, a single spectator, or a group. Let's all unite against racism.
Unite against
Enjoy
racism. Say no to racism. That's what I like to see. No racism during the match. And I know that seems a little bit overkill, but there are some people that, like, some soccer matches, football matches where they will play like against African countries, and they'll like the stands will like throw banana peels and stuff onto the field. Like, it's like, that's like another level of racism we don't even experience here in America, because that would get you like legitimately killed. but I guess in England, that's just par for the course. Like, that's pretty wild stuff. Oh yeah, the streamer Kai Cenat is having what's called Streamer University tryouts. So streaming right now streaming is probably one of the strangest jobs that anyone can have. You pretty much act a fool, act retarded on camera to farm clips so that you can farm multiple streams of revenue on your channel, clips channel, DMCA claims, all this type of stuff. It's pretty much a clip farm. But you're trying to be live for as long as possible to get as many clips farmed for you as possible. So it's sort of like this, Ouroboros of content. But that's streaming. And Kai Cenat is one of the big streamers. I think he recently quit to do like some sort of like weird satanic clothesline. I don't really care, but he is he does this thing called Streamer University, and essentially, and Kai Cenat, if you've ever looked him up, he looks exactly like Diddy, and you might know where I'm going with this. Kai Cenat is the new Diddy, and let me explain. Diddy was the entry barrier point for breaking into the musical realm. Now, to break into black Twitch or black streaming, you have to be let in through Kai Cenat because he's the biggest one, or Speed. But Kai Cenat's the only one that does this sort of streamer university. So it's essentially the lottery for who he lets in. But I guarantee you that this isn't merit-based. This isn't based on who's the funniest. It's not based on who's goofy. It's not based on who's entertaining. This is based on who Kai Cenat finds sexually attractive. And I'm talking about guys here. So he's going to be grabbing up some guys that he's going to be doing Diddy parties with. I guarantee you probably about maybe things move a little fast now. So maybe 5 years from now, we're going to find out some horror stories from the winners of this competition that we're looking at right now, Streamer University. The winners of this are going to have horror stories of what they made him do. But this is the type of crowd. This is the size of the crowd. He pretty much shut down this entire town. Look at this line. If you make it as a streamer, you can pretty much quit your job. All you have to do is carry a camera around. You have to just say funny shit into a camera. It's like the easiest thing in the world. Just walk around, find strangers, talk to strangers. Honestly, a lot of it just happened. I don't even know how Twitch is so big. I mean, I used to watch Twitch when I was like in high school, but that was kind of like the peak of Twitch when people were entertaining. You had like Ice Poseidon, you had like Greek God X. These people were like pretty entertaining and actually doing things, but now it's just kind of like, I mean, I don't even know what it is now. It's like, I guess Speed is doing some interesting stuff like touring the world. I really don't know what goes on at Twitch anymore, but this is the only way, and this is what I was saying a long time ago, is the world, and let me quote Tim Dillon, because Tim Dillon says it pretty well. Tim Dillon said he was talking to one of his friends. He's like, why would you not want to live in America? There's no other place in the world where you could become rich like in America. And Tim Dillon said, well, that's not a society. That's a casino. What you're describing is a casino. In a casino, there's no other place but a casino where you could leave richer than you. No, you could leave rich. So America is becoming a casino, and the lottery machine is social media and streaming and talking to Kai Cenat and being handed a career. That's sort of the lottery system that they've got now. So this is the social lottery. All these people want, I'm not going to say out of the hood, but they want their, I'm not going to say get out of jail free card, because that's obvious. That's a second Bush statement. That's not real. And that's not what I mean by that. There's no sort of under meaning. Okay, let's just play the video. And there are some white kids here too. But this is an insane amount of people. This is more people I've seen for anything. Dude, I went to go watch Shane Gillis live, and I think this is more people than than were at Shane Gillis's performance. That should put you in perspective. So that's sort of what's going on. That's the state of our government. That's the state of our economy. Is in order to make it, you have to. And also the tryouts are like a humiliation ritual as well. So you have to like publicly humiliate yourself in front of millions of people for a chance to become a streamer. It's like a full-on public humiliation ritual. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend. We went a little bit extra. I know I was a little bit late. I like giving you guys a little bit extra. Share with a friend. If you enjoyed this episode, drop a like, leave a comment, whatever you want. Shove it up your ass. Comment something below. Comment something very controversial in the comments below. Put your phone on vibrate. Shove it up your ass and just wait for the vibrates to come in.
If
Goodbye.
You miss the train I'm on.
Pray for Ireland, guys. They're fighting for their home. They're fighting for the only home they have. It's not even a race thing. It's not even a race thing. They just want their home to be home again. Is I think sort of the thing. And you know, it's hard because it is about immigrants, but guys, just pray for Ireland. I hope that they can get their thing figured out. And there might be a simpler way than just, you know, moving people. Or, I mean, I hope that they can find a more elegant solution, but just pray for Ireland. Because the Irish truly are maybe one of the last, like, lines of defense for, I don't know what I'm saying. I'm going to drink this bush too, but this Irish song coming in. I don't even know if this is Irish either. I think this song is about immigrants, though.
If you miss the train I'm on, you will know that I am gone. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. You can hear the whistle blow 100 miles. Lord, I'm one, Lord, I'm two.